Our cell phones. They are arguably one of the most important innovation of today's society. According to Pew Research, 91% of all American adults own a cell phone, and 62% of those users own smartphones. Now, we know that cell phones are a great way to communicate or even stay entertained, but they do have their consequences. Today, my claim is that cell phone use causes lower levels of concentration and focus. To support that claim, I will talk about how many people today are distracted by their cell phones, how cell phones are linked to negative effects in student learning, and how when even phones are not in use, they still affect your brain. To support my distraction point, I will talk about how the National Safety Council estimates that at least 1.6 million car crashes happen because of cell phone use. Now, 23% of all accidents are from drivers of 20 to 29%. Although it doesn't seem like a big number, it is the greatest out of all of the age groups. And 38% of those accidents are caused by cell phone use. Even though many celebrities and big-time cell phone carriers team up to promote or advocate no texting and driving, 75% of all drivers admit to texting while driving. And this is according to Time magazine. And even though these people know that you could potentially harm yourself or another life, they still feel the need to quickly respond to whatever message they get or answer the phone. And another way that phones are a distraction, in the University of New Hampshire, the Whitmore School of Business and Economics, they conducted a study and found that cell phone users check their phones in class about 1 to 5 times. About half of those students say that cell phone use in class affects their ability to concentrate and their ability to absorb a great amount of information that they receive during their class. Cell phones are linked to negative effects in student learning. College students who frequently text message during class have difficulty staying attentive during class lectures and consequently risk having poor learning outcomes. According to an article in the Teaching Professor, I quote, "Students who use their mobile phones during class lectures tend to write down less information, recall less information, and perform worse on multiple choice tests than those who abstain from using their mobile phones during class." Now, this shows a direct link from not being able to concentrate during class and a performance on your tests, as they mentioned that they suffer from not doing well on multiple choice. Overall, those with high cell phone use tend to have a lower GPA, higher anxiety, and a lower level of satisfaction with life or happiness compared to those peers who are reportedly using their cell phone less, and this is from the U.S. Chamber Foundation. This is true because as the more you use your phone, the more plugged in you are to different social media outlets, and you are constantly aware of all the different activities or achievements other people have done, and it makes you feel a bit inferior. And even though you are not using your phone all the time, it still affects your brain. A study that was published in Time magazine, it took a group of 50 college students and they had them perform different motor tasks. The study group leader had their phone out, and then they had another group that everyone had their phone out. Now, their performance on the complex tasks suffered both conditions when compared to the control groups that had no phones out. So even though you're not physically on your phone, the sight of your phone reminds people of the broader social community that they can access via texting or internet. And even when your cell phone has a weak signal, it sends out more radio waves and it affects your brain's glucose metabolism. So that means that even though you could be just sitting there, your brain is using energy because of the waves that your cell phone is transmitting. So when trying to focus, it makes it harder because your brain has already used a lot of energy because of your cell phone, even though you're not even physically on it. So in conclusion, cell phones can cause a decrease in student learning. It can affect your brain and even take one's life.
All right, the proposition's identified. That's okay, although it's got multiple parts to it. I think you could just leave it with decreased concentration. You'd be fine. A good preview of the supporting points. You signposted the first one when you got to the body of the speech. The second one wasn't really signposted, and it just seemed like it was all one point that was being widely developed. And then I heard a transition to the brain argument. It wasn't clearly signposted, but I suddenly knew that we were in a completely different section than the first section of the speech. So that's kind of how information ran together in the middle part of the speech. You did have a lot of good information in the presentation, though. I appreciated you had some statistical information, some hypothetical examples. You had a couple of pieces of testimony and some studies that you cited. That was very effective. I thought you had good audience contact while you were speaking to us. You did a good job connecting with us. And I know how true it is that the cell phone could be distracting, because I'm watching over his shoulder because he's cleaning the screen the whole time you're speaking, you know, trying to get those bubbles out. And I'm going, what the hell is he going to do? He's going to get that out. Hurry up. Okay. There you go.